Scrumfred and the Bag of Bones, written and illustrated by J.H. Yackel. Have you ever sent away for something and gotten it delivered by mail? Well, Scrumfred sent for a build-your-own dinosaur kit, and when the package finally arrived, she was delighted. She hopped up and down and couldn't open the box fast enough. Inside the box, Scrumfred found everything she'd ordered. Plastic bones with little numbers on them to make the dinosaur skeleton, papier-mâché paste so that she could wrap it up and make it solid, paint to make the dinosaur look lifelike, and a book about dinosaurs so she could figure out what kind of dinosaur she had. She cleared a space and set to work building her dinosaur. First came the head. Scrumfred clapped her hands. Maybe her dinosaur would have a huge head with enormous teeth and a giant mouth for roaring like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Or maybe it would have a duck-like bill and a huge long nose bone that crested over its head for singing like a Parasaurolophus. Or maybe it would have sharp horns on its face like a Triceratops. But it didn't. It just had a regular head with teeth for chewing plants. But Scrumfred wasn't disappointed. Oh well, she said, I'll bet it could eat a whole tree. Next came the bones in the dinosaur's neck. Maybe it will have a long neck like a Brontosaurus or a Brachiosaurus, so it could eat the very top leaves of the trees. Or maybe it will have a collar to protect its neck like a Protoceratops. But it didn't. It had a kind of regular neck, good enough to turn and look around and long enough to reach the middle branches. But Scrumfred wasn't disappointed. Looks nice and sturdy, she said. Next came the front legs. Maybe it will have teeny little arms in front with little three-fingered hands for grabbing and holding on to eggs like an oviraptor. Or maybe it will have big, heavy, round forelegs with big, round toenails like a Barosaurus. But it didn't. It had a sort of regular front legs, good for walking on. But Scrumfred wasn't disappointed. I'll bet it could walk a long way on these, she said. Next came the ribs and the backbone. Maybe it would have big plates on its back like a Stegosaurus. Or maybe it would have a big fan for warming up in the sunlight like a Dimetrodon. But it didn't. It had a regular back. No bumps, no nothing. But Scrumfred wasn't disappointed. Looks nice and strong, I think. Next came the back legs. Maybe it had big, nasty, retractable claws on its back feet for ripping and tearing like a velociraptor. Or maybe it had long, skinny legs for running 100 miles an hour like a Gallimimus. But it didn't. It had sort of regular back legs with regular type toes. But Scrumfred wasn't disappointed. These are fine for going places and sitting up on. Last came the tail. Maybe it would have a long, whip-like tail that would swish back and forth like a Diplodocus. Or maybe it would have a club on the end of its tail for swinging like an Ankylosaurus. But it didn't. It had a regular sort of tail that wasn't very long and wasn't very short. But Scrumfred wasn't disappointed. That's a good tail, one that won't get stepped on, she said. When all the bones were in the right place, Scrumfred looked in the dinosaur book and figured out that the dinosaur she'd put together was an iguanodon. Iguanodons lived in the early Cretaceous period and ate plants. Scrumfred covered the skeleton with strips of paper and papier-mâché. Scrumfred read in the book that nobody knows what color the dinosaurs were, so she could paint hers whatever color she liked. And you know what? That's just what she did. And nobody was disappointed at all.